It's never enough and it's selfish, and Hebrews calls it dead works. Christ redeemed us from these dead works. Animal sacrifice, human sacrifice, whatever you want to call it, it's dead works. If you do this, God will be happy. No, that's dead. And that's the stuff that honestly will destroy you a lot quicker than any other sin. Did you know this? Do you know what's interesting? When the early church, when God, in the early church, when you read the stories where they said to repent and return to God, what did God mean by repent? You know, it's funny because Christians have made it sound like, ooh, stop drinking, stop cussing, stop smoking, start going to church. That's not what it meant. That's nowhere in the context of the New Testament church. What did they need to repent from? Well, I'll tell you what, it's the same thing that the Bible, and only once it mentions this, that says will cause you to backslide. I'm upset some people that, like the whole backslidden idea. There's only one place in the Bible that talks about it. It's in James 5. It says, for those, James 5, it's in Galatians 5:4, that they seek to be justified by the works of the law. The apostles preached to repent. Repent from what? Repent from dead works. Stop thinking that the animal sacrificial system of the Old Testament will save you. Stop thinking that the law will save you. Stop thinking that what you do will save you. And start trusting in God. Start having faith. Repent. Turn away from the dead works and turn to God in faith. Stop trusting in your works. Who were the backsliders? The backsliders were the ones that were telling Christians that they needed to go and do the law. They needed to go and do all these different things to be a true Christian. And that's false. They were backslidden. Paul says they were cut off from the faith. They cut themselves off. They were alienated from the grace of God. They were no longer part of God's family. Why? Because they chose to do it their way. They thought that they could make God happy through the things that they did. But what's the good news? The good news is you can't. God's happy. That's the good news. It's not good news to say, well, God, now He'll accept you, but you need to do this, 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 and this. No.
Hello. Welcome to the First Christian Church meeting. Here are the rules. Rule number 1, spend all of your free time in church. Rule number 2, you're not allowed to have any fun unless you're laughing at how dumb the devil is. Rule number 3, wear t-shirts with my face on it. Rule number 4, always smile and act happy. And finally, wear a stylish beard like mine.
Look at this. I want to read some scriptures here and then I'm finishing up. What is the good news? Look at this in Romans chapter 3. Jesus came to preach the gospel, the good news. He came to give us good news. And if it's not good, it's not the good news. But what did he say here? Look at this in verse 19. It says, now we know that whatever the law says, it speaks to those who are under the law, that every mouth may be closed, and all the world may become accountable before God, because by the works of the law, no flesh or no person will be justified in His sight. For through the law becomes the knowledge of sin. But now apart from the law, the righteousness of God has been made known to us. Apart. This has nothing to do with works. This has nothing to do with what you can do. It has nothing to do with following the 10 Commandments and doing all the different things. It has nothing to do with that. Apart from the law. By faith. I love this. It says, even the righteousness of God, verse 22, even the righteousness of God through faith in Jesus Christ to all those who believe, for there is no distinction. And I love, in Romans 9, I love how Paul writes it. It shows, as some people say, it's the unfairness of God, where he says, in Romans 9:30, he says that God chose to, and I want to read this to you real quick. I love this chapter. It's a good chapter to read here, but I'm just going to read this verse. In Romans 9, in verse 30, he says, what shall we say then? The Gentiles are the people who were apart from God's covenant. They were part of God's chosen people. They were on the outside. And those people were on the outside. It says that they did not pursue righteousness, but they attained it. They attained it, even the righteousness which is by faith. But Israel, pursuing a law of righteousness, did not arrive at the law. But why? Because they did not pursue it by faith, but that they might receive it by works. You can't make God happy by what you do. You can't make God happy by, faith is not about the things you do in that aspect. Faith, you don't have faith because you go out and do all these different things. That's not faith. You're putting your faith in your works.